On se rappelle les chansons, un soir d'hiver imprévisable, la scène un marchand de marron.
Hi, welcome to Navy's Kitchen. This is the second episode. Today I'm going to make a chicken with a panko crust and a Parmesan crust also, and I'm also going to make a basil risotto with asparagus and a cream sauce. Hope you enjoy this show. Last time I brought you a potato gratin and a pot roast, and I'm going to continue to bring you some of the top recipes in gourmet food possible. I hope you enjoy. We'll get started. First thing that I want to do now is I'm going to make my chicken first. That'll take about the longest to cook. So I have two boneless chicken breasts right here, and with this recipe, what you want to do is you want the chicken to be thin. And there's a couple ways you can do this. You can either smash the chicken, in which you take a piece of saran wrap, put it over the chicken, and take a mallet, and you just hammer the chicken down and get to a nice, flat, consistent piece. What I want to do now is, instead of doing that, I'm going to take just a paring knife, and I'm going to cut the chicken I'm going to cut it horizontally into about half of this into a nice fillet. When you do this, it's really simple. You just take the knife, start at the edge of the fillet, and you just cut through. But you want to be careful so you don't cut yourself. So start with the top side down, and just take your knife, cut here, and slowly and easily cut through. You want to just make sure, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to make sure you get a nice flat fillet. And go like that, and look at, you get two thin pieces of meat. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the other piece of meat. Take my knife, start at the top, make sure you're not hitting the cutting board with the knife, and just keep cutting and keep peeling until you get a nice flat piece of meat. As you can see, the whole purpose of this chicken is I'm making a breaded chicken with a panko crust, and what I have here is just some panko. What panko is basically a Japanese breadcrumb. This is unseasoned panko, which I prefer because I'm going to season it myself, and it has less salt than the seasoned Italian version of panko you can find. Usually find these at supermarkets or really anywhere, specialty stores, so it's actually a great breadcrumb. It's crunchy, and it'll give it a nice texture on the outside. What I want to do with my mixture is normally when you make breaded chicken, you stick the chicken into flour, then you stick the chicken into egg, and then you stick into the breadcrumb mixture. That's what I'm doing this time, but the difference with this recipe is that in the breadcrumb mixture, I'm going to mix Parmesan cheese, panko, and seasoned breadcrumbs into the mixture. So basically it's going to have a crust of panko, breadcrumbs, and Parmesan cheese. It's going to be fantastic. So I have about a cup and a half of Parmesan cheese. You just take this is just finely grated domestic Parmesan cheese. You don't have to go with the too fancy kind, but this kind, it's not as good as the Italian imported kind, but you know, it gets the job done. So I'm going to put this into my my breadcrumb mixture. I'm going to take my panko breadcrumbs, put them in here also, and just kind of take a spoon and just mix this up. What I want is about 2 eggs, 2 or 3 eggs. I'm going to use 2. Put them in, 2 eggs, and then just take a fork. You can use an egg beater or whatnot. You want to get air under the eggs. You want it to be a nice, fluffy, consistent mixture of eggs. You don't want little clumps of eggs in there because it won't coat the chicken evenly. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my chicken, put it in the flour first. When you put the chicken into the flour, it pretty much allows the eggs to hold on to it a lot easier. And I'm going to take the chicken in the flour, now put it in the egg mixture. Don't be afraid to get dirty. This is a dirty dish. Then, once it's in the egg mixture, make sure everything's coated, put it into the breadcrumbs. And mix it around nicely. You want every facet, every part of the chicken to be covered. And then when you're done, you can just put it onto a plate and continue. Same thing as before, chicken, flour, eggs, breadcrumbs. I want to make a risotto now. It'll take about 20 minutes, and basically this is a tough dish to make. There's a small little window in which you can really get the risotto perfect. And I want this risotto to be perfect. So you can use onions or you can use garlic. I'm going to use garlic in this case. I'm going to take about a couple cloves of garlic and I'm just going to sweat them real quickly inside my, my saucepan right here. And basically what risotto is it's like rice, but instead of using water to make the rice liquidy, to make the rice soft, you can use chicken stock. And what chicken stock has is just a ton of flavor, and it'll really season the risotto really nicely. And I have some long grain rice here also, and this soaks up the water the most, so it's going to soak up the most of the chicken stock, and that's really what we want. So I'm going to take about a few cloves of garlic, just mince these roughly. And you can use onions, as I said before, you can use shallots, and you really want anything that's going to sweat and not cook too fast because you want the rice to soak up the flavor. Butter, I'd say about a tablespoon of butter, right here. Put it into my, my risotto saucepan. So take my garlic now, put it into the sauce, take the rest, put it in, let this cook real slow, real low heat. Take your rice, put it into the garlic butter mixture, which is cooking right now. I've got 3/4 cup of rice. I'm not making too much risotto for people because I don't really want people scavenging off my food, but you know, like this quick little bit, right? You take about half a stick of butter. It's a lot of butter. So you take about half a stick, put it in there. It's essential because you need moisture. You need moisture with your rice because the rice won't cook. And I have here this is chicken stock, which is simmering. We put that at low heat. You don't want the rice to burn, so keep mixing, keep chopping up the butter. And one of the characteristics of this dish is that you're going to constantly be mixing a risotto, constant. So you take and you do it at little intervals of a time with the chicken stock. So while you're cooking, you take a tiny bit of chicken stock and you put it in, and you just kind of mix around, and you'll mix around till the rice soaks up the chicken stock. And you do this every time. And eventually, with time, the rice will soak up the chicken stock at each interval. And then after it soaks up, you add more chicken stock.